to a show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Mask Podcast. So, this week, my guest is actually going to be a coworker, a friend of mine. And we've worked kind of around each other for quite a while, but over the summer we got to sit and work together and just talk and like hang out. And after talking with this dude, I was like, you're fucking fascinating. I gotta have you on the podcast. So that's how it works. Anytime I talk to anyone fascinated, I'm like, hey, you want to be on the podcast? Most people say no. But my guest here, Michael, said, yeah, sure, of course. So we're gonna welcome to Off the Mask Podcast, Michael. I'm not gonna drop last names because fuck you guys. But Mike, what's up, man? How you feeling?
I'm alive. My pain is kind of hitting hard today, but it happens. As I told you before while we were at work, I got fibro, so I'm always in pain. I think without my meds, I live at a 7 to 10 on a given day. Do you know about the pain scale much?
A little bit.
All right.
Yeah.
So relatively, 7 to 10 is like everything from a major sprain to a full bone break. And not one of the light bones like your forearm or something like that, but one of the heavy bones like your collarbone.
Yeesh.
Yeah, that's the sort of pain that I would live in without my meds. And my meds have been keeping it down. But I've started working out more lately. And because of that, I'm bouncing between 6 and 7 right now.
Yeesh. Well, should have told me, man. I would have made your seat a little bit more comfortable. You're sitting in the goddamn folding chair. Would have given you that cushy chair over there.
I live with it. I've been in pain for so long. It's just one of those things. You know what I mean?
I understand completely. It's like it gets to a certain point where it's just like, you know, especially with doing jiu-jitsu, I just come home, something hurts. My wife's like, you want to take anything for that? I'm like, no. I'll be all right.
It's too normalized now that it's just, this is normal.
Yeah, like this is
If this was a abnormal type of pain, I'd take something.
Yeah, like what was it yesterday? I was sitting at work, and I was talking with another coworker, and I just got this weird sharp pain up like under my collarbone.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I was a little concerned because it wasn't like, you know, anything where I was like, oh no, like this is the end, but it was different.
And
those things I'm concerned about, but the regular aches.
And you said it was up under your collarbone?
Yeah, like right here,
right near the scapula.
Yeah.
What it probably is that you probably have a cluster set of knots back on your back up on your trapezius area. And when you have a cluster knot, the way the muscle bulbs from the tightness roll against each other can pinch some nerves and cause radial effects like that. Sorry, I studied massage as well. I don't think I ever told you that.
No. But that is like, checks out, makes sense. Like, I don't know. Like, you could have told me like, oh, pain right there? Nah, it just means you're a little fucking dumb. I've been like, sounds about right. I do dumb shit. So with us, just where we work, like we were talking before we got on, just like kind of all the shenanigans there. We're not gonna bore the guests or the listeners too much with our work life.
Although, to put it simply, we have not enough employees to cover the amount of stores that we have.
Oh, and they keep opening more.
And then they open more, and then they change which district you're in, and then they do this. And this is all around the same time that they decided to institute new personal goals where they're taking your averages for different things and completely screwed it up, because when you have a high average and a high amount of rentals with whatever you're doing, you can't get higher without ever actually maxing, because like if you have a 90% in something. If you have if you have 10 of something and you have a 90%, you end up with 9 out of 10. To get up to 95, you just need to get 10 more of it. Not too hard. But if you're at 50 of it already and you're at 90%, how much do you have to go up that 5% that they keep pushing for?
I get to a point now when I'm there, when we have those bi-weekly calls or whatever they are.
Meetings.
Yeah, fucking dumb. And
everyone agrees.
And I check out. Like, I'm usually in a good mood, and then as soon as I see we have one of those, I look at my manager and I'm like,
I'm gonna take a nap.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not doing this. And then with me floating around, like you and I think there's a couple of us, others of us that kind of,
and like 2 or 3 others bounce around between like the 25 different stores in the district. There's not been a store in our district except for the 2 new ones that I haven't worked at yet.
So because of my wife's schedule, I can't go like outside of like this surrounding area. So I've lucked out.
Without also being late.
Yeah. Because I remember they asked me to go to one store, and I was like, if you wanted to open up at 10 o'clock, I got you. And they're like, okay, never mind. And when there was a...
Yeah. They had to do the same sort of thing with me on Thursdays recently. Because they kept trying... for the longest time, my home store, our other coworker, you know who he is, had off on Thursdays. So obviously I had to be there, and that wasn't an issue. But right now, his wife is about to go through surgery. Some things are changing at their house, stuff like that. So he's now taking Wednesdays off, and they were trying to bounce me around to different stores on Thursday. And I'm like, I have my therapy on Thursdays right after work. You can't put me that far away, or else I'm not going to make it to my therapy session, in which you might find a body in the store the next day.
Like, I might need to go to that.
Yeah. So they decided to give me the chance, just go, no, we'll keep you at your home store on Thursdays or at one of like the 3 nearest ones.
Yeah, they would try to get me to come in on Wednesdays. Mm-hmm. I was like, I have therapy midday. Like, I chose to be off on Wednesdays specifically because I have therapy.
Yeah.
So you're better served letting me go to this. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just like you're going to have a disgruntled employee, and I'm not going to be the funnest person to deal with. And that's not to say, it's like if I don't go to therapy, I'm flipping tables over anything.
Yeah.
But I do need to go out and, let that off.
Yeah. You have a build-up issue.
Yep.
Me, I have if your people want to know, I have borderline personality disorder. It means I have constant social anxiety, paranoid delusions about my social situation. I set up weird sets of rules known as black-white syndrome. Basically, either everything is one way or it's another, which leads to really fun paradoxes when I can explain the logic behind them and people can't work around them, which is hilarious, and I can get into one later, but it's a little bit of a deep dive. I'll let Dante decide if we get into that one.
It's your table today, my friend.
I gotcha. But one of the other ones is I suffer from heavily amounts of depression. I do not go a day without thinking about killing myself. Most of the time it's a low scale thought, but when it gets higher or heavy, work will start seeing me wear nothing but long sleeves. Or I might be out for a couple days and there's paperwork put in luckily so that way I can just leave whenever I need. But technically this is always something that I gotta battle.
I remember during one of our we had those different morning meetings that it was like these specific stores had to be on them. Yeah. We were talking about our goals.
Yeah, that was the one I was talking about.
And that So I rarely ever made those meetings because I can't make those stupid fucking meetings anyway. My wife doesn't get home in time for me to be at these calls at 9 o'clock. So and I remember talking with one of our team leads. And they're like, well, you got to figure out something. I was like,
you have to set a goal. You have to set a goal. You have to set a goal somewhere above where you are.
Yeah. Well, that shit. No, I mean, I remember the one time I did get on a call. They come to you, and they're talking about, like you said, you want to keep your number where it is.
Yep. The goal, because of the fact that this is not super specific, but anyone can understand, you're supposed to get 80% of something. We're supposed to get 4 out of 5 people to agree to this additional purchase. Right? And I was sitting at 90% of that. I think my number specifically was 91.36. And like, you gotta shoot higher. And you can't, because you already are sitting on 60, 70 people that you got to buy from you, or 60, 70 people that you've got to buy from you. And if you're sitting at that 90%, to try and go up even a single percent of that, you need to get like 13, 14 people to agree 100% of the time. And as soon as you miss one of them, your number actually drops lower. So I was kind of pushing the bosses to listen to, let's do a maintenance. I don't slip further. That's a good goal. Sometimes the goal should be, you're already doing well, let's just don't fall backwards.
Yeah, maintain.
But they were told by their bosses that everyone has to shoot for a higher goal. So they kept pushing me. And I started melting down in the middle of that meeting. I was going, I can't reach it. I can't reach the goal, and I'm a total failure. I haven't reached a single goal this entire thing. I think that this shows that I'm a total piece of crap, and that I probably shouldn't be working here because of how bad I am at not reaching goal. Even though I'm not trying to brag, but as you saw with the numbers during that, because I'm sure they made you talk about them, even personal meetings or anything like that, Dante.
They tried.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
But everyone could see that I was at the top. And during that, they corporate decided to also pump out a ranking of all of their employees per division. And I was number 3 in the division, yet I was in this training thing. And they were telling me I had to shoot higher. And that did not do well for my personal health. One of the DTLs ended up calling me one day and keeping me off to the side for a couple hours to talk to make sure I didn't end up in the hospital, which I greatly appreciated that. That was, not to get into specific names, the guy DTL.
Okay.
You know who I'm talking about.
Okay. Really? Well, yeah, that makes sense. Despite, like, sometimes he can get kind of dickish, he cares.
Yeah. He the way I would describe him is he's a rough dad type. Like, he goes, you need to do this, you fucked up, this is how it needs to be, you need to change this. But at the same time, if he sees that you're struggling, he goes, let me talk to you about it, let me help you not end up in a worse place. He has kids of his own, and he's dealing with his girlfriend's kids, one of which who is massively autistic. And he has to deal with all the therapies of that, and he's learned how to care. And he does seem to care. Whenever I have an issue, he reaches out and tries to help as best he can.
Yeah, I know during at least the call that I was on, when they said that, and you very, very clearly said, this isn't good for my depression if I missed this goal. And you didn't go into the full detail, but you alluded to that, and you said, like, look, if I miss that, if my number comes back down because I'm trying to shoot higher, that's going to affect me, and I'm going to go into a depression. And then the one
I had to constantly fight from just unloading on everyone in our division because we had 15 people on that call or something like that, and I don't want to make everyone feel like it's messed up, but at the same time, I'm also not afraid to talk about anything. It's like when they did the meet and greet meetings because we finally were able to meet again in person.
And our DM, he goes around the room and goes, "Hey, you, what are you into? Give us a description of yourself, how long you've been with the company, stuff like that." And there was stuff that was bounced around like, "Yeah, I collect Hot Wheels," or "I do music stuff." And then it got to Dante, and he's like, "I do BJJ and podcasting." And when it got to me, I was like, "I am not safe for work. All of my personal information is not safe for work. Technically, if I tell you anything about my personal life, it would actually lead to an issue if I volunteered it. You have to ask, and then I have to give you this disclaimer." And our DM kept trying to keep everyone's attention away from that because he understands what that means. But so many people were starting to ask me questions about it, like, "What does not safe for work mean?" and things like that. I'm like, well, it means that it's not safe to discuss for work. If you want to know more, it's completely fine. I'm not ashamed to talk about it, but that is something that you probably don't want to hear, especially because it was one of our ultra conservative older coworkers who obviously does not understand much.
Yeah, like it, when you said it, like because you said the initials for it, and I got it, like, and then I think she said, "Well, what does that mean?" And I was like, "Oh no, like
my life is NSFW.
Don't open that box. Do not do that."
Yeah, like Dante can attest. When I first met him and he started asking me about some stuff, I was like, "Well, this is not safe for work. Are you sure you want to hear about this? I'm making sure that I'm getting this disclaimer out so that way you can't sue me."
Oh yeah, it's like when you said that, I was like, "Oh yeah, go ahead, man. I don't give a fuck." Like trust me. Like, and I mean, it was a relatively slow day that day.
Yeah,
too, so it was just like,
yeah, we were just chilling in the office
because I was like, "Look, dude, it's gonna make the day go by faster anyway. So please tell your story." And it was just like, and then the day did fly by.
Yep.
It was like, oh shit, like, when you want to take a break? Like,
yep. And we barely got our breaks in that day and stuff like that. I think the story that really sunk it in for you was, what was it? The one where my girlfriend's mother knew about my penis before I had met my girlfriend?
Yeah, well, I mean, you had that. There was a couple stories, but that was when you're like, okay.
This is definitely not safe for work.
I was like, okay, like if a tenant walks in like, "Hey, I got to pay my rent." I was like, "Oh, wait, let me finish the story real quick." Like, you're fine to sit in on it too if you want. Just
keep in mind. I've talked to I've talked to a customer before about necrophilia and the technical laws around it, because of the fact that somehow the conversation got on there, and I've never had a complaint about the conversations I've had with a customer.
I don't think, like, with some of the tenants and customers, you can almost kind of tell who's who and who would be an issue. But I think most are like, that's an interesting cat. It's like, but there's no like sense of like, I'm going to complain or I feel uncomfortable. But there are a couple that I've encountered at my location, at least, that it's like, look, I don't even need to talk to you. Just come pay your bill. Mm-hmm. This one lady always wants to come in and, like, she'll come in and she's like, "Oh my goodness, those poor people in Ukraine." And then she'll start talking politics. And I'm like, "Hey, so
I don't want to talk politics."
Oh no, I had to straight up tell a lady over at a location near here. She came in and she started talking about some fucking something in politics, and I looked at her and I politely said, "Okay, ma'am, that's cool. I just need you to," because she wanted to come in and have the lease explained. It was like, "I just need you to focus here so I can get us through the lease," because it was at the end of the day. It's time to fucking go home.
Yeah.
And she started talking more, and then I was trying not to be rude. I was like, "Look, ma'am, I don't care." She's like, "Well, you should care. This is important." I was like, "No, what's important is you signing this lease because you said you want to come in to get explanation of the lease." Mm-hmm. And then she was like, "Well, you know what? Is it okay if I come back and deal with the manager for that location?" Because that's what I started with. I was like, "That's perfect.
Yep.
That's absolutely okay with me. Here, you want me to print out another copy of the lease for you? Because she was writing notes all over the shit.
Yep.
And I was like, she was like, no, I'll just come do it. I was like, perfect. So that's the kind of tenant that I feel like I have to watch what I say.
At your location, when I've had to fill in there, I've had to talk to some of them, and they are excessive. I would say some of them are almost fanatically right wing. I mean, like, you might think that they are a part of those groups. I'm just so glad that the Maryland branch of the KKK got disbanded because of Reporter, which was great.
Man.
Like, he was like, it wasn't like toned down. He has a TED talk and everything like that. He's a black man, and he made friends with the
I know who you're talking about,
with the Grand Wizard and everything like that. And it's an amazing talk if you ever want to see it. But it's because of that, some of the people at your store I've talked to, and they are like that. I'm pretty sure they don't talk to that about you, but they were talking some of that stuff towards me. I was like, no, I might look like a skinhead, but I am definitely not. I just went bald at 16. What the fuck you want me to do about it?
Like, there are some tenants that they are very, very clear about where they stand politically and everything. And I let them know, look, that's cool. I don't care. Like, it's not a conversation I want to have here. It's like, hey, you want to be on my podcast now? Shit like that. But
I get into it with all of the different customers. It doesn't matter which side of the fence they're on.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, I try to tell people, it's like, I don't care about any of this. All I care about is coming to work, going home, going to jiu-jitsu. Yep. I'm caring about what's central to me. Yep. And then when you come in, I have some tenants that will come in, on very far right, and they'll say one thing, and I'm like, okay, cool. So you need a receipt? You want me to email that receipt? And that's one on the very, very far left. They'll say something like, that's weird. Hey, so do you want me to put you on auto pay?
Yeah, just basic stuff, and you don't have to get into it with them. I'm just the person that does engage.
Some I have chosen to get into it with them, because they'll say something so ridiculously silly.
The conspiracy theorists that that end up there, at your spot, I talked to someone that was a flat earther, and I was like, okay, so technically different parts of the math does work for different things, but the problem is that if you applied those same calculations into the other parts, it fails. That's the reason why the Earth has to be round, because you can use the same calculation on multiple parts for a round Earth theory, and it works. While if you use the flat Earth theories, you have to use different calculations for each and every part that do not work to then recalculate the other one. You cannot make it all fit at the same time.
Like, I was trying to. Well, I dropped the ball. I was supposed to have a flat earther come on to the podcast. We're gonna have a, not like a poke fun out conversation. Like, I really want to hear.
Yep.
Like, what do you like? Make me understand.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is too, when conversations of conspiracy theories come up, what frustrates me about it is it's like, well, look, you can't trust the mainstream media. That's fine. I hear you. But then it's like, but watch this guy on YouTube, and it's like, well, why should I trust that guy on YouTube though?
Yeah.
Like
why is this person not as potentially influenced as the other person?
Yeah.
And that's completely one of the problems. The biggest problem I have with a lot of conspiracy theorists and conspiracy theories altogether is the simple question of how many people would have to be involved that no one linked the info. If there are, for flat Earth, that means there has to be billions of people involved that none of them are leaking the info. If you believe that the edge of the world is in Antarctica, theoretically you can always do an expedition of your own, take a boat, go find the edge. Because if it's that many miles, how many people would you have to have manning it? How many people would have to be down there, and you would be able to find that edge or find a way through it? Sort of like the wildlings in Game of Thrones when they came across the ice wall. Yeah. You'd be able to do the same thing in theory.
I mean,
but they don't.
the thing that like just gets me is like everything's a conspiracy, every single thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, again, working yesterday, talking with a coworker, he was talking about his father-in-law. Everything's a conspiracy, every single thing. There's not a single conversation that he has with this gentleman that isn't a conspiracy in his own mind. It's like how do you like? So his theory is he was like, look, for he thinks with this specific gentleman, the feeling is he has to create a boogeyman. He has to create something tangible to say it's this thing's fault. Versus sometimes shit happens. Life is just life.
Mm-hmm.
Like bad things happen, silly things happen, viruses happen. You know,
Coincidences are
Yeah.
a thing.
but this like he thinks this person needs to have a tangible villain
Yeah.
that you can point and say it's this person's fault, and that makes sense, you know.
It's a
that
good
regard.
coping mechanism in theory.
But I don't know. To me, I think it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Just when I hear it, I'm exhausted. So I
Yeah.
could only imagine being actually wrapped up in it. Like,
Yeah,
holy shit.
and even something that is more related to what you do with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu self-defense stuff. Imagine using that saying of always stay vigilant, always be aware of everything that's going on. In theory, if you do that, yeah, you'll be 100% safe, but that means you hear the ceiling creak a little bit. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go out, then you're supposed to check to make sure that nothing's going on. And while you did that, you heard another sound down the street, so you need to make sure that nothing's going on. Then, because of the fact that the ladder was slightly in a different position than what you remember, mostly because your memory is faulty, because everyone's memory is faulty,
Yeah.
and things like that, and it just compiles, you go insane. Instead it's just easier to go, you know what, keep in mind distances. Go, if there's a table between us, I can get closer because that means he has to reach over the table to fight me, or anything like that. If you're worried about self-defense as a easy issue, changing your position so that way he has to come around to come to the front to try and fight you, or things like that. And you can start clocking that way, and it becomes less stressful and more of a game, and thus then easier to do.
I don't know. Like,
Sorry, that's a completely different tangent.
No, I just think, you know, when it comes to, you know, conspiracies and just being worried about everything, and you know, you have to be aware of everything. It's like, okay, like using the noise as an example. My neighbors, they're up late. I watch a lot of horror movies, especially at bedtime.
Yep.
And I hear lots of weird noises, you know.
And you know that in theory, the wall, because of the fact that the walls are connected, they could poke a hole through it and they could be watching you.
Yeah.
They could set a camera inside your house while you're not. They could use a single hole to clock how many people come in or out near the front door, figure out when no one's home, sneak in because no locks are impenetrable.
No.
And because of the fact that no one checks their keyway for scratches every time they walk in.
Wait, they don't?
No.
Oh, shit. Fuck. I've been doing that all the time. We're not supposed to? No.
No, but that's the same sort of thing. Is like most people don't check it, so that means that then they could sneak in, they could load cameras in your house, and now be watching exactly what we're doing, and be in a hot tub full of Jello while doing it. But that's not something that we need to know about.
You had me into the hot tub full of Jello.
Well, I'm trying. Well, it could not be Jello. It is colored red. It is a little viscous, and a hot tub does
I'd
keep
rather it
blood
just
at
be
the right
Jell-O.
temp. See, so Jello is the better
yeah.
answer there.
Well, so when you said Jello, I'm thinking green Jello.
Nah, I'm thinking red.
I was
Cherry.
I was like, oh,
Cherry
lime.
red Jello.
Lime Jello. Okay, good. Then, you're thinking that. Okay, never mind. We're on different pages.
Jello.
But yeah, it's like, you know, there are noises all the time. If we investigate every noise, if we investigate every single thing, you're gonna go crazy. And that's the thing, though. A lot of them probably are going crazy. And that's the funny thing too. I feel like I run into more conspiracy theorists in the jiu-jitsu community than any other walk of life ever.
That's
like,
because of the fact that they see that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is good for self-defense. And if you have a conspiracy theory that someone's following, that could be monitoring everything that you do, you need to be able to defend yourself. So I'll learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu so that way I can defend myself when this conspiracy theory decides to land on my head and tries to kill me.
I mean, I guess unless we're in
It-
a simulation, then
Well, simulation theory is hilarious because there's no way to disprove it, because anything that you create inside the simulation cannot prove that there's something outside of it because it only exists within the simulation. It's just like last Tuesdayism. There's no way to disprove that one. Do you know about that one?
no.
So, last Tuesdayism is everything in the universe was created last Tuesday, just as you remembered it. So, every memory that you have, because of the fact that you actually can't go back to check it, is memories that were created in your body last Tuesday. Whenever a new Tuesday rolls around, it's still it's still the last Tuesday. That everything was created in the universe as it is. So every documentary, those were already created. It never actually happened. Nothing existed prior to last Tuesday. It's just memories of it.
Dude, I think Tuesdays suck anyway.
Yep. I gotcha.
Tuesdays are trash days.
Yeah. No,
Because,
no.
like, you're coming Monday, all right, you're coming off the weekend. Tuesday is just Tuesday. Wednesday, you're halfway there. Thursday, one more. Friday is the
Yep,
weekend.
no.
Tuesday is just a fucking day. I hate Tuesday.
Tuesday is the slow day.
Now I have
And
another
that's-
reason to hate Tuesday.
And that's my Monday at work. That's the start of every one of my work weeks.
Oh my god, I'd fucking lose my mind. I don't know, maybe I wouldn't, because if I'm off Monday, it's basically like, okay, now, like,
Yep.
all right. I would then hate Wednesdays though.
Yeah.
Ugh. Never mind. Keep
Oh.
Tuesday. I will.
But the good part is that because of the fact that it's Wednesday, there are places that are doing hump day happy hours and stuff like that.
True.
So that makes your Tuesday a slight better because it now functions like everyone's Wednesday.
There used to be, where was I? There used to be a bar that used to do dollar beer night that I used to go to. I want to say it was a Wednesday night, and that made me look forward to Wednesday. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, Wednesday. Yes. No. It was Tuesday. It was Tuesday because Wednesday was like something
Yeah.
white girl Wednesday, and I think like
Whatever.
all the women got like cheaper drinks or some shit. It was like, I didn't shave my legs, like, but if you want, like, I can.
I did shave my butt. That's what it is.
I mean,
so I hope
you
you're
know,
okay with that.
If you want me to identify as a woman just to get a cheaper drink, cool.
Yeah.
So,
I'll come in a skirt, put on my wig.
I mean, when I shave, I'm a cutie pie.
I have not properly shaved in 4 years.
You got the ZZ Top going on right now, my friend.
I get a lot of that, but when I finally tie it up and stuff like that, I end up getting a lot of Gandalfs and stuff like that, and Dumbledores. It's not quite gray, but it's like, damn, it's that long.
I mean, look, because
Not the first time I've heard that though.
because of the tint, again, ZZ Top is where I'm going. Everybody else with the Gandalf stuff, it's not hateful. But it's like, come on. Dude.
There aren't many people with bright red long beards, and ZZ's is blonde.
True, but still,
Yeah.
it fits because it's not gray.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, we've been all over the place.
Yeah.
And mostly while not recording.
Yeah, I kind of distract him.
Yeah.
I bounce around a lot.
So, just in general with you,
Mhm.
in I'm trying to think of just how wording. No, I'm not worried about word. I'm just trying to think direction to take the conversation.
Yeah.
So, tell me about. Well, you already told me like
The depression, the anxiety, the social issue, the
So-
poly, the kink.
So we're gonna go to poly later.
Okay, no problem.
I'm saving that. So with the depression
Gotcha.
and the social anxiety,
Yep.
like, for you, has that always been like a lifelong thing, or did that come on for you?
So it has always been a lifelong thing where I had social problems. I've had depression. I don't remember a time in my life when I didn't suffer suicidal thoughts and ideation or anything like that. I got diagnosed with BPD back in middle school, back in the 90s, because that's when I was in middle school, where it was still okay to diagnose kids that young with BPD. but my current doc says that either I have BPD or I have 4 other disorders that equate to BPD. Because one of the things that BPD means is that you have to have a traumatic, a pretty consistent thing with people that have borderline personality disorder, is a traumatic event. And since I normalized most of my past, it makes it harder to track if I've had a traumatic event. But I've always had the social issues. The thing is that because I was always around more people in school, I had more friends. Because my social anxiety exacerbates when I don't have people that I feel comfortable with. So, like, if I go to a bar alone, I'm quiet, alone on the wall, short answers, nothing like this. It takes a lot to start bringing me out of my shell in that situation. But if I have a couple friends with me, I become super social. I can talk about any topic. I feel confident because I have a support structure behind me. As for the depression, a couple years ago, when COVID was going on, I had my first incident where I had to be hospitalized. Someone called to get me taken in by the paramedics because I had my first attempt. After that, I found my psych doctor, and she's been great. Absolutely. Good. And she's kept me out of it. She's also understanding that I have some coping mechanisms that aren't great. But the fact that have my rule sets with them, I'm not going to end up in a worse situation. Like, I am a cutter, hence why at work you will find out that I have long sleeves on when I'm having a bad time. And I keep a running tally of how bad my suicidal thoughts get. When I ended up having my attempt, my arm was covered like Victor Zaz, to give you an idea of how bad it was. Like, mostly because of the fact that I know that both you are a comic book geek and many other people that probably listen to this.
I was going to say, I know Zaz. I don't know if others would, but yeah, go look him up. It's Batman villain.
Yeah, Batman villain. My arm was covered like that. And that's how bad I got in a single month. And now I have a rule set around it where if I get to a certain tally count, I have to request additional time from my doctor. If I hit a certain tally count after that, I'm calling the suicide hotline. If I hit a certain tally count after that, I'm immediately hospitalizing myself to try and help prevent me getting even worse, aka 6 feet under. But because I have borderline personality disorder, one of the really messed up parts about me is I take insults 100% to heart and believe them true. Anything bad about me that anyone has said, unless they are literally a random person walking down the street, has sunken in, like, completely. So when an ex called me abusive, I can't not think that I'm abusive. Even though my current situation, the couple I'm with, they absolutely disagree with that. I still can't not think it. My friend, when I was 16, I lost my virginity to a girl. This story is about to get dark, so I'm prefacing this with suicide warning, fucked up situation, and stuff like that. So if this is going to be harmful to anyone, skip the next 5-ish minutes. Dante might actually put a time skip in it or something like that. I don't know. I don't know how he does this podcast, so I'm just referencing random YouTubers. Sorry. Kind of also on a sidetrack because it's a deep topic. So I met a girl online. Her name was Sarah. She was a few years older than me. I was 16. We went down, we met for the first time in DC, DuPont Circle. Hung out in a hookah bar, had a bit of fun. Later, I talked to her again. She decided to come up, and she's the woman that took my virginity. Side note, to make this a little funny, the condom didn't fit, but we weren't not going to use a condom, so I didn't get to come my first time. About an hour and a half, because we watched a movie during it. Not at all. It was annoying as hell. But when she left, she was in a good mood, things like that. I hadn't seen her online but then time passed. Hadn't seen her online for a while, about 3 or 4 months. Then she hops online, finally. I go, hey, how's it been? I get a message back of, who's this? I go, this is Michael. The guy from Baltimore you came up to see. Who? You took my virginity while we watched this movie. And then the message comes. This is Sarah's mother. She killed herself last week. I go, I'm sorry for your loss. And then log out. I told my friends about a week later because I was processing it for a while. And one of my friends, after telling them exactly what happened, starts cracking up to himself. I ask him, what's going through your head? He's like, no, man, it's totally fucked up. I go, I gotta know. I got a dark personality. I think it might be funny. Might help me through the thing. Instead, he says, dude, were you so bad that she had to kill herself? And now I can never be 100% confident in my sexual ability either. It really pisses off the people I'm with. Sorry.
No.
That is one of my heavy stories.
And I mean, yeah. I mean, we talked. You told me this when we were at work, and I remember just hearing it, and even still, like hearing it again, like hearing it the first time, I was like, oh Jesus Christ! Like even still, like hearing it played out again, I'm still like, like knowing.
Yeah,
knowing
where it's going to go.
It's still like in my head, like fuck, like
yeah,
Jesus.
And that's one of the problems with my BPD, because I cannot not think that. One of the other problems is that, like I said, I'm constantly battling those thoughts. I also have to battle the idea of substance abuse. BPD people have a lot of need for quick gratification. So drugs is often a thing. Luckily, I have avoided majority of drugs. I smoke. I drink occasionally, but I tend to drink when there's friends around because drinking alone is really boring.
Trust me. I get boxes of wine in the fridge, and I'm like, ugh. But I only typically drink when I do my Sunday show with Steve Colompton. Yeah. Like we review beers, and then sometimes I'll have a mug of wine, or if I'm recording on a Saturday night and I know it's going to be one of those, it's time to get fired up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, I get it. Like, because who wants to drink alone?
Yeah.
Well, lots of people, actually.
Well, most people don't want to drink alone. They are okay with drinking alone.
Yeah, true.
I like playing games when I drink. Board games while drinking, tons of fun. I'm great. I love playing Kings, getting everyone drunk at the same time.
Yeah.
I tend to go hard with it because I end up with what I call a 7-headed dragon. It's technically a variant on the Four Horsemen. Do you know either of those cocktails?
Yeah, I know the Four Horsemen.
Yeah. So for anyone out there that doesn't know, it's equal parts Jack Jameson, Jose Cuervo, and Jim Beam. So you mix those together, you have that. I add in Jaeger for a fifth horseman. Lots of people don't like it, but for me, it actually just sweetens the drink. But if I'm going seven-headed dragon, I also add in rumplements and either Goldschlager or another cinnamon liquor or whiskey or something like that, which turns it into the seven-headed dragon, and it tastes kind of like big red gum mixed with whiskey.
It sounds interesting because I like Big Red Gum, but then it's like, ugh. But as soon as I hear Jaeger, I'm like,
It doesn't bring through a ton of licorice. It's actually, it's
and that's the thing. It's like it sounds like you don't even know the Jaeger's there, but just in my head knowing the Jaeger's there is like,
yeah, like you will taste the sweetness of the Jaeger. It does add a slight tang to it, but I'd say it's no worse than when you have one of those super large, super sweet jelly beans that just has a little that melted slightly to the black licorice one, but it's still your favorite flavor. So you pop that in your mouth and you go, yeah, it's not bad. It's a nice little add-on.
yeah, yeah, like drinking and like just social drinking. Period. I know my wife. She, sometimes she gets into this bout about like you shouldn't have to drink to socialize, and it's like, well, it's not that I have to.
Yeah.
Like it's like I'm enjoying the time, so like let's loosen up a little bit.
It's more I am socializing, so I want to drink,
Yeah.
not I drink to be able to talk to other people.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Now, for me, I'm shy. I'm extremely shy. Actually, people may not think that, but I'm like painfully shy. But I don't go out and say, well, because I'm shy, I'm going to drink. Now I'm going to open up. No, not at all. It's like if I go to a party, I don't know anyone there, and I see you there.
Yeah.
Like, and I look at you. You're a big fella. Like
I stand out in a crowd.
like physically imposing. But because of that, now I'm going to go over. And not like in this whole like, oh, go to the prison and beat up on the biggest guy. No, I'm going to go because like, okay, you stand out.
Yeah. Trust
Like-
me, I stand out in any crowd. Foot and a half, beard, shaved head, white guy, kind of stands out. And then being 6 foot,
I was gonna say
stands out
you're not
more.
a short fella.
No, I weigh because I'm trying to lose weight, but I weigh 285 on
Yeah.
average.
Like if I'm at a party and I see you, you're gonna stand out. I'm gonna come over to you and test the waters.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm shy, but it's like, look, you're standing out, and I see you over here too.
Yep.
So let's be friends. And then from that point, boom, it starts rolling. I feel like, yo, let's get some drinks. You drink? All right, come on, let's go get a couple drinks. But I'm not gonna come into that situation thinking, all right, I gotta go in here and drink. I'm gonna go in here first thinking, okay, I don't want to be here, but since I am here, let me go find somebody else who probably doesn't want to be here either.
Yep.
And then we'll both not want to be here together.
Yep.
And then if we feel cool, let's have a drink.
And if it's one of the house parties that I tend to go to, or I did tend to go to, I've lost a lot of friends recently because of the suicide attempt. So now I'm down to a very, very small social circle. And thus I don't get to go to parties much or anything like that. Just a random fact. But when I went to parties, I'd be the one encouraging games, encouraging people to drink if they wanted to. If they didn't, I didn't force anyone. But I also tended to end up naked. And when I end up naked, that's how my story got to my girlfriend's mother before she met me.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm just saying. It's one of those things.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like, when people are like, oh, when you drink, you get like this, or you get like that. It's like, I mean, look, I might have a couple drinks here and there, and I feel freer.
Yeah.
Like, but also there's a cutoff too for me.
Yeah.
Because it's like okay, like, and I'm pretty good at knowing when to cut myself. Like even when
I'm bad at that part.
Like-
I'm bad at knowing when I need to stop.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when I get really bad, my depression kicks in because alcohol is a depressant.
Yeah. Yep.
And once my depression kicks in, I will turn nonverbal. I will start signing everything. I'm fluent when I'm drunk in sign language. But I'm also talking about trying to jump in front of a bus. So it becomes really hard for everyone around me. So I got to be careful with that.
When you drink,
Mm-hmm.
like when you're starting to sober up, like let's say the next day,
Yeah.
like you're starting to, like, does that depression get like stronger, or do you kind of
It kind of returns to baseline
okay?
normally, unless I did something extra fucked up that night.
Like for me, and it's been a while. Because I mean, like I said, I sit here, I record with Steven, we drink, but it's not usually anything too chaotic because again, it's a control situation
Yeah.
versus like
You're
parties.
also doing a podcast at the time, so you
Yeah.
have something to pull things towards when things start getting out of hand.
I do, Steve, like that dude's gotten trashed on air, and I'm like, dude, you need like he'll listen back like, oh my god, I can't listen to that, like I sound horrible. Why'd you let me get that way?
Yeah.
Like, you did it, but like it's been a while, but like there have been times like after like a night of like heavy drinking, I wake up the next day and it's just like I'm just downward spiral like the next 36 hours.
Yeah. I can give you the science behind that if you want, because alcohol is a GABA inducer, and gabapentin also is the medication I'm on. So effectively, my system is running as if I have had like 2 shots at all times, because of my medication. It also helps prevent seizures and stuff like that. But when GABA starts flowing out of your system, if you're not used to a lower GABA level, it takes away the dopamine as well, because the dopamine and serotonin that generally causes you to keep in a neutral state. It also doesn't help that with the small bits of pain, even if you're not really feeling the headache or anything like that, it also exacerbates it, which will help cause that downward spiral as you sober up. For me, because of the fact that I'm used to all those low states, it doesn't end up happening.
Like for me during those times, and it was every so often, not all the time. Like because most times I wake up, you got the hangover, which I don't know when was the last time I had a hangover, but more often than not, I'd wake up, and it usually kind of would depend on, I guess, really the evening. It's like if I was out like a former job, that would be we go out, party, get trash, fun time. I'm like, yeah. But if it's like some like shit where I'm just sitting here drinking with like my one buddy, and it's like, all right, man, I'm gonna go to sleep. And I wake up, it just feels like, all right, I drank, and I want to say like, oh, I drank with this buddy, and and it meant nothing. No, but it's like again, I don't just sit around and drink.
Mm-hmm.
There's always like an event to the drinking.
Yeah.
So like if there's an event to it, I wake up the next day, I feel pretty good. If there's not an event to it, then it's just like I wake up and it's just like this spiral.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been many years. So like now if I'm drinking, like I said, I'm recording a podcast, or I don't like if it's just me and my wife, we might have a glass.
Yeah.
She has a glass of wine. I have like 2 mugs of wine, which are like coffee mugs.
Yeah.
That's how I drink my wine, out of coffee mugs. We like Mike. I don't know if you noticed, but we're fancy here. We're fancy as fuck.
Yeah, I have a major goth aesthetic, so like half of my cocktails are mixed in skull cups and stuff like that. One of the cocktails that I've started getting other people to drink more is a gin martini. What you do is you take your gin, you put it in a bottle, separate bottle, obviously. I typically use the mason jar because it's easier to get tea bags into. You then cold steep the tea inside the gin for a day or so. So that way all of the tea and tannins end up in it. Then you pull the tea bags out. Depending on the type of tea, you either drain it back in, like squeeze them to get more gin back.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to waste gin. Then you take a honey syrup. So 2 parts honey, 1 part water. So that way it dissolves in the gin easier. And it's 4 ounces of the gin, 1 ounce of the tea syrup, or the honey syrup, sorry, and then a half an ounce of lemon juice. And when you mix it all together, It tastes like great southern sweet tea, but it's pretty much all gin.
The gin has, like, I had gin twice. I don't know. That's one that I just cannot
Yeah.
stomach.
Gin is very floral. If the way it gets made, it's pretty much like a vodka mixed with potpourri. If you get one of the nasty ones, when it's better, it tastes better. Because of the fact that you're soaking your tea into it, it ends up with all that tea flavors, but the floralness doesn't counteract anything. So it ends up actually mellowing the drink versus being like a really sharp tea.
Oh,
I do mixology. I do a lot of random stuff, guys.
well, like the first time. Well, no, I think Well, there were a couple times I think we talked on the phone at work too,
Yeah.
and like it was just like this dude, like just any random topic we go to. There's a lot of shit here.
Yep.
But-
No, so I have pretty bad insomnia. Like on an average day of work, I've had maybe 3 hours of sleep the night before.
Hashtag twins.
Yeah. The difference is that Dante has things to do with it. Me, I just am absorbing things. Like I will go on YouTube and watch 4 hours of random info from like SciShow or stuff like that. I hope you don't mind me calling other shows out.
No, I don't care.
But I will also sit there while watching those and read another 400 chapter manhwa or 200 chapter manga at the same time. I will sit there and binge a 50 episodes of an anime or a TV show all at once. So like I've seen all of Supernatural, I've seen all of Lucifer. While at work, I'm also listening to books, and I've gone through all of Discworld. I've gone through all of Game of Thrones. I've gone through the Dresden Files, which, by the way, the Dresden Files is great. I don't know how many people know about it. It is a great book.
I've heard of it.
At
least I've heard title.
Yeah, it's a great series. The first book, the first 3 books, the guy wasn't actually expecting it to become a long-running series, so you can see that he was like, okay, this is going to be a standalone story, but it sets up things. In the second book, he explains more and sets up more, but he was like, okay, I'm only going to make one more book, so he wasn't planning for a big arc. When he made the third book, he also got signed for a bunch more, and he was like, okay. And then he started expanding the world, and now the entire series is you can see where he back-threaded so much. If you guys want to know the basis of the series, Dresden is a wizard in Chicago. He is in a world of he is magically inclined. He knows how to do spells, thaumaturgy, retromancy, stuff like that. But he works as a private investigator. In the Dresden Files, the magic world is generally kept hidden, but not explicitly like Harry Potter is, where there's a Ministry of Magic hiding all that stuff. Instead, they play on the fact that if you told someone, I got attacked by a vampire, everyone's going to think you're crazy, because everyone else knows vampires aren't real.
They're not. Fuck again.
Yeah, and because of that, Dresden acts in the open under he has his listing in the yellow pages of wizard and stuff like that. And it's kind of hilarious because he acts openly. He always deals with people that don't want to believe. Of course, he's made friends that do and things like that. Karen Murphy is one of his best friends and is a cop on the force that understood, no, magic is real. I just can't put that in the police reports. So now although technically she's doing a horrible thing of falsifying police reports, it's to keep the general public from realize it's to keep, one, her job, two, her boss is happy, and three, to make everyone feel safe. Because although she did take out the troll that was snatching kids on the bridge, she has to put down that it was just a brute from a gang that then got shot and fell into the river. So when they find a body, it's sad to say that person might get pinned with the I don't know who that was, but it might be this guy sort of thing. But it's a good way to not have to worry about the system backlashing on you because you told what is the truth.
Sounds
Just
like something
as an idea.
Something my wife would more than likely be interested in.
Yeah. There are, among the fans of it, they all agree that the audiobooks are actually phenomenally good in comparison to reading them outright. They are on the local library. I use Libby as an app to listen to it at work.
Hashtag twins again.
And I am right now re-listening to that series, but I've also listened to, like I said, all of Discworld. If you don't know what Discworld is, comedy written by Terry Pratchett. It's a great series. Just don't hesitate to get through it at all. It's just fantastic.
Right now, I always check out the books on Libby, and I'll start them. And well, at our job, I mean, we have quite a bit of time of being able to listen to audiobooks, podcasts, music, all this stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wear the hats that I do, to cover up the earbuds in my ears, so that way sorry about that. So that way I don't end up with a bunch of people asking me what's going on, but I just leave it in there the entire time at work. I only pause it when I'm talking to a customer.
So I had new earbuds that actually have a button now to pause.
Yeah.
Because the other ones that I had, it was just, I don't know what the fuck was going on with them, and then one of them stopped working anyway, so fuck it. But now that I have that, I just keep the shits in. Yeah. Although I don't even keep the hat on. I just look, you see them, you see them.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
And our bosses say that we're not supposed to have earbuds in at work, but the problem is that they also said that we're not allowed to play music in the office. So if you're stuck in the office for the next 4 hours with no noise and nothing to interact with, what will you do? You'll go and fucking insane.
Well, that's the thing that fucking always gets me with silly rules that we have. Is well, we're not allowed to do this, we're not allowed to do that. And it's we're
not allowed to wear jeans.
I am okay, so you want me to go out there and especially let's say springtime, do some outside fucking maintenance work and then slacks?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm not doing that. Eat a dick. I remember my old manager, he would wear jeans on Saturdays, and randomly our old DM showed up and looked at him and goes, "What, are you off today?"
Yep.
He goes, "No." He actually was outside doing work. He was and he was "Okay, it makes, it checks out. That's fine."
Yeah. Our DM has actually commented on my clothes a dozen times. I have actually started purposely wearing slightly messed up clothes because of the fact that I think the DMs are told that they have to find something that the person needs to improve on. So instead of making him nitpick me about some of those details on your sales aren't great, or you aren't getting more dollar per policy, or whatever the fuck it is, I give him an easy target of, yes, my jeans are technically cargo because they have the pants on it, but they are not cargo because they don't have exterior pockets, they have interior pockets, which means that they lay flush against my leg. So does this actually count? And he always goes, "You just gotta zip them up." And I go, "That's fine." And then I zip them up while he's there.
Well, I always just keep. Well, I think part of what happens with my metrics for them to complain about stuff, I just consistently stay bad. so they can consistently say you should improve this.
Yep.
And then they'll come to me the next time and it's still bad, and they're like, you should get better at that. And I'm like,
Yep.
okay, I'm not. And it's not even that I can't. I can. I'm just like, look, the thing is, when we go to work and we do our job as is, like outright,
Mm-hmm.
the ultimate thing to me, if I'm a customer, is that, I'm happy with the service that you provided.
I'm happy with the service. I'm happy with the price of what I'm buying, and I'm not going to complain. But no, I get that.
Well,
I purposely keep my numbers up so that way I can keep getting those pay raises.
Like, but that's the thing. It's like I see like whenever they like kind of come at me about anything, and I do like more so with the DM, like the team leads. I don't even try to one of them I will talk a little bit more openly, but the others I don't even try to explain myself because it's like there's always a counter to what I'm. It's like I'm no.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to counter what I have to say.
That-
Like, eat a dick.
They get mad at me because of the fact that I give them valid reasons why things are this way, and they can't argue it. And our DM has gotten mad at me and gone, you always have a reason for it. You always have a reason for why you do the things that you do. And he didn't say that that's wrong to have, because he can't say it's wrong to have a reason why you didn't change the light bulbs this week. It's not. But the thing is, like, he gets mad over the fact that I give him valid reasons. Like, why was I putting my legs up in a store? Why was I propping them up? Because it lowers the pressure on my back, which keeps me able to come to work. And he goes, that makes too much sense. You can't do that. But it makes too much sense. And I go, I make sure I don't do it in front of customers. And he goes, but he has told me I can't do that. He said if he catches me on cam doing it one more time, I'm going to get a write-up.
Before we get out of here, I want to ask you about Poly,
Yeah.
Poly life and everything, and just how that came about, and where it's at now for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that are out there that don't know what the term poly is, poly means polyamorous, meaning that I have multiple partners. As of right now, I technically only have one as an actual dating partner. I have a couple of people that I have fun with on the side. All great people. But the people that I have fun with on the side, one is married, and one is in a poly situation with a bunch of other guys and girls and things like that. But the one that isn't married, I just don't feel the desire to make them a dating partner. But she's also a great wingman, and she dwarfs me, by the way. She's another 4 inches on me, to give you perspective.
Love to hear it.
She is tall. She is black. Her voice is nice and deep, but she loves to play as a little, and she squirms. It's hilarious. But that's a side note.
Favorite kind of people.
Poly is, for me, being able to express your love to multiple people at the same time. My poly partner, she is a married woman. I've been with this couple because we moved in together, and I have been with them for now 10-ish years, to give you guys perspective. I was there while they were engaged. I was there at their wedding. Because of the fact that they do not announce it to the rest of their family, I am just considered a roommate to a lot of them, even though we are all signed together on a house for the next 30 years. There is no
commitment.
Yeah, there is no way that any of us are breaking up. Not anytime soon. Through exploring during COVID, it did also help me realize that although I am heterosexual, which means I'm only sexually attracted to the opposite sex. I am romantically I'm pan-romantic, which means that I can develop romantic feelings regardless of anyone's gender, sex, anything like that. Which gets complicated because a lot of people don't understand how to have romantic feelings without sexual feelings. But that's the sort of feelings I have for my metamor, Ricky. I'm going to drop their names because I'm fine with them. If their parents find out through this podcast, which is highly unlikely, they can deal with that.
If their parents find out because of this podcast, son, I'm reaching demographics I never thought I could.
Yes. But their parents are hyper Christian at times, and it gets really annoying trying to deal with them. They're looking to have a kid soon. We're going to be having a conversation about that because I'm not opposed to having a kid, but I'm also opposed to the idea of them going away every Christmas to visit their family in another state, and I'm not allowed to go as well because I'm the secret partner. That I'm not okay with. I'm not okay with raising a kid and then not getting to spend the holidays with them. I'm pretty sure everyone would feel that way. If Dante, could you imagine every holiday your kids go away and then you don't get to see them for like a week or two and then they come back every holiday and they can't tell whoever they're visiting that you're their dad?
No, that's the whole point of the holiday for me is it's my kid.
And that's how I feel. And that's one of the conversations that we're going to have. But we have been together for 10 years, which shows how poly can work. During that time, I had another partner. During that time, I went through unemployment. During that time, I had my suicide attempt. And during all of that, we had stuck together. It was great. They're supportive in helping me try to find another partner to be my primary because I am her secondary and she is mine, which means that her husband takes priority, which I'm pretty sure most of the people out there can understand. But it does mean that she still cares. If I need a night where I need to just be with someone, she's there for me and he understands and things like that. Affection is all around. He personally isn't into PDA as much, so we have to keep that a little bit lower. I have no problems with PDA because I love being able to just go up, grab the person I'm with, and, well, smack their ass so loud that it echoes throughout the halls. That's the sort of affection that I do.
Oh, I mean, I think that's a good, explanation. Just because I know the understanding for me is like I didn't have an understanding. I know when we spoke about it before when we worked together.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Like, okay, I don't understand, and that was part of like wanting to have you on. And of course, that this conversation comes at the end of the episode, but doesn't mean we're not going to link back up and go deeper into it. But that gives a good opening explanation and understanding, because that was one of my questions is how does the relationship work where there's a married couple and then there's you. It's like, are you all a couple of three
that is called a throuple. Those things exist. What it really is for us is I am dating her, she is married to him. We all love each other and support each other. He and I are as close. He describes it as close as brothers, because he does have a brother. He's very close to his brother, things like that. I have a brother. I'm not very close to him because he's in Texas, and I don't get to see him or my nieces or nephews because he has 6 kids now. He's 5 years younger than me and has 6 kids.
Jesus, dude, relax. like 6?
Yeah.
Like calm down.
Yeah. And his girlfriend, or his wife, sorry, is a bit more antisocial. She grew up as a homeschool kid, so she's not very used to interacting with people that don't adapt to her. Which means that I don't fit in.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, also, I mean, again, you have a specific look to you where it's like, unless you're open minded, people are going to look at you and like, oh, I don't know if I really want to hang out with that guy.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's also, I am open about all this stuff. I have a little sister. She is 22 years younger than me. I talk to her as if she's an adult. My family gets mad at the fact that I talk to her as if she's an adult. Because why are you treating her the same way as you would an adult? She's only 11. And I go, because she's smart enough to understand. If she's, in my opinion, I don't know because I haven't raised kids yet. But in my opinion, if the kid is smart enough to start asking questions about a situation, they are smart enough to start learning about it. Yeah. So if your kid asks, what is a gay couple? You can talk. It doesn't matter if they're 5 years old. It doesn't matter if they're 13. You talk to them and go, hey, a gay couple is this. This is what this means. Oh, you're 9 years old and you're asking about condoms? I go, that is for an adult activity. That is something that you should not be doing yet. But it's known as sex. And I'd go into the details a little bit and go, this is what you need to know as of now. When you grow up, ask me more and I will give you more info. But as of right now, you don't need to know how all that stuff is, but that helps prevent babies.
So that's something I always see as a funny conversation with people that I know. They're like, well, if my kid asks me, I don't want to see this in society, because if my kid asks me, well, why are those two ladies holding hands, or why are those two guys holding hands? I don't know how to explain that to my kids. Like, it's not difficult to explain. They love each other.
To put it as another example of, you don't know how kids are going to react to different situations. For a while, I lived up in Gwen Oak. It's right outside of Baltimore City. It's a very black demographic. I'm very white, except for my freckles. But I had so many of the black kids, when I was sitting out on the porch one day having a cigarette, ask me, so why do you have the brown spots? Are you white? And I had to explain it to them. But you'd be surprised how quickly kids understand situations. They are literally a sponge for knowledge.
Well, kids understand more and are open to more than what we give them credit for. Yeah. We always assume... I always try to tell people, and I always try to keep this in mind myself, having been a preschool teacher many years ago, and for many years during that time. But I always try to think of it this way. I was a child once, and I always try to remember that. So if a kid asks me a question, or if a child is doing something, I try to keep in mind, look, I was there before too. Yeah. Like if a kid is upset, I'm not going to yell at them for being upset. You got to talk to them like a person.
Yeah. This is what that absolutely sounds like responsive parenting, by the way. That's one of the terms that are out there if you want to look it up. There are plenty of shorts on YouTube and TikTok that go over how these people did responsive parenting. It's also known as gentle parenting, but people misconstrued the word, so they changed the title.
Of course. Because that's what we do. Yeah. As we spoke off air about.
Yeah.
Another term.
Yeah. But that's the sort of thing. And if your kid, to put it this way, if your kid saw a regular couple, and by a regular couple, I mean two people that are together, because it is regular to be asexual or to be agendered and with someone else. It is regular to be gay. It's regular to be a lesbian. It's regular to be all that. But if you saw two people together, what would you tell them when you saw them holding hands and kissing? And the kid asked. They love each other.
Yeah, they love each other.
Yeah. They're in a relationship. They love each other. If you see two people getting married, you'd say the same thing. They wanted to devote their lives to each other. With poly, you go, yeah, they devoted their lives to multiple people.
So my daughter asked a couple years ago. My daughter's 6, and she asked. I believe she might have been 5, 4 or 5. She asked. She says to my wife, "Mom, can 2 girls get married?" And my wife goes, "Yes."
In this state, yes.
And she goes, "Oh," and carried on.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
it's just a matter of fact question.
Well, then she came back and goes, "Wait a minute." You can see the wheels turning. You're like, "But can 2 boys get married?" It was like, "Yes." Then she giggles and goes, "Okay." And just goes back on.
Yep.
You know, doing her puzzle, playing with the Legos. It's like, and I get it. You know, people, you know, don't. They feel like, okay, if they ask this question, this is steering them in a direction. And it's like, well, no, they ask a question.
You're giving your child options.
Yeah.
Do you not want to give your child the most opportunities to grow and advance? Yeah, they might not grow in the way that you originally envisioned, but no kid does. You cannot find a kid out there that grew up to be the exact expectations of their parents.
I oftentimes, and this is kind of a shitty comparison maybe, but I think of like all this and how I look at like Marvel and DC movies. I don't have any expectation because you want one thing and you're going to get a different movie than what you're wanting. And most people get upset about that. It's like, just enjoy what's coming along. That's the same thing I think with my child. It's like, look, I don't expect my child to be a neuroscientist. You know, I don't expect...
If they become that, you're going to be happy.
Yeah, of course. But I don't have this expectation.
Actually, you're going to hate it because of the fact that the kid's going to be several $100,000 in debt due to 7 years of college. But at the same time, you're going to be happy that they decided to go down.
There's no expectation of like, you know, oh, you have to go to college to do this. You have to go to college to do that. I was like, look, do what makes you comfortably happy.
Yeah.
It's just whatever comes along, we address it. Whatever comes along, we embrace it. And we're going to live through it versus, you know, shying away from it and trying to act like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, and I know this is going to be a trouble for most parents that are out there. Talking to your kid about sex. That's always going to be a problem for most parents because they don't want to think about the child that they raised doing something like that. It kind of squigs a lot of people. For the people that are out there,
then they need to grow up.
One, people do. You just need to accept that your kid is going to, especially when you want the kid want to have grandkids one day. How are you going to have grandkids if your kids can't have sex? Sorry, I'm going to get into a story in a second, but there's also YouTube channels out there that completely explain sexual situations. If you're not comfortable talking to your kid about it, let your kid watch those videos. Because they start off with questions, they explain the situation, and they explain it safely. The ones I recommend out there are sexplanations and what's the safe word. What's the safe word is mostly if your kid ends up developing into kink territory. I know you don't want to think about that, but if they do, that's the direction we want to go if you cannot talk to them. If they want to know basics, like what's the difference between a tampon, a pad, a diva cup, a period panties, whatever that is, that's there for them too. By the way, I'm a very big advocate of diva cups because they are just perfect for when you need something under emergency because it just is reusable because you just wash it off. That's a side tangent. But the story for people that didn't explain to their kids, this couple had gotten married. They're in a highly Christian area that did not teach in school sex, did not teach their kids directly because they're like, no, you shouldn't. This is something that's taboo. You don't talk about it. They had to go to their priest and ask why, after 9 months of trying, they still haven't been able to even get close to having a kid. They didn't know about insertion because they were taught
talking about sex is taboo. The priest had to ask them what they were doing, and they felt embarrassed about even talking about that. All that they were doing was dry humping and thought that that would lead to a baby. They had been together doing that for 4 years at that point. They didn't know that sex involved insertion when they were trying for a kid 4 years in, and for the past 9 months. This is why you need to talk to your kids about sex.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That is... I think I would be more embarrassed of my kid not knowing about that until they were like in their 30s than if my kid came up to me at 12 starting to ask questions. Right.
I remember going to a dance with my goddaughter. We went to a Christian academy, and one of the young ladies, I guess they had speakers, and this was a graduate, and she got up. And one thing that she did point out that I don't know the thought process of the people there, because I honestly didn't. Like, I went there, she mingled with her friends, and I sat at the table and I ate spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah.
My goddaughter's white, very white.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no mixture in there. She's all white.
Gotcha.
And then there's me. I'm black. And I had a couple people come over and, converse with me and ask questions. I'm here. But the young lady who was up, who was a speaker, she did make a very interesting point. Because as she went off to college, her family never talked to her about, like, makeup, and going out. So when she went to college and she went to put on makeup, she looked like a fucking clown, like literally a clown. And she was like, parents, we have to understand that our little girls are growing up. They will grow up. So, talk to them. Don't shy away. Don't be embarrassed. And, that's just makeup.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even sex.
Yeah. Feed their curiosity, but feed it in a safe manner. If they are still curious beyond what you know, and you don't want to seem like you don't know about it, because I don't know about you, Dante. I'm big into kink, but do you know much about how to tie someone up safely?
I was in Boy Scouts. I know a few knots.
Okay. But do you know how to double check pressure points for it? Do you know how to suspend someone from a ceiling safely?
I'm not allowed to speak of it. No, I don't.
But that's the sort of thing. If you don't know, but you don't want to come off as, I'm a parent that doesn't know about this sort of stuff, you can go, I know a lot, but this is a great resource. And then you point them to it. It makes you seem like you also know more about the world, so that way you know about the thing. And you can point them to, what's the safe word? You can point them to sexplanations. You can point them to all of these resources that are out there, so that way they can learn. You don't have to be embarrassed, and everything can stay safe.
I don't do New Year's resolutions. Because I never keep them anyway.
Yeah.
But one thing I do try to remind myself every time the new year wraps around is to be more open about admitting I don't know something or I don't understand. If you say to me, you can ask me any general question. I mean, there have been a few here in this episode. And,
like you admitted, you don't know much about poly.
No.
I'm a person that's into poly. I'm in a poly relationship. You asking me causes me to feel better because I feel like I know more, but it also causes you to learn.
Yeah. And I'm willing to admit I don't know, and that's something I always try to remember at the beginning of the year. I kind of fade away as it gets later in the year because of like ego. It's like, no, I know everything. But no, like I think us as people, we have to get better at admitting when we don't know something.
Yeah.
And especially these days with the internet, there's so much information out there, whether it be accurate or not,
and that's the reason to double check your sources.
Yeah,
there are ways to find that out.
Every time something comes up, especially in the media period, everyone's all of a sudden an expert in the field because they looked at one article.
They're an quote unquote expert, but they looked at an article that then referenced another article that then referenced another article that then referenced another article that referenced the first article, because that's circular logic that technically is legal.
And it's okay to say, look, I don't fucking know, but it's also okay to look at information and then see something that opposes what you thought, and then dig deeper to get a little bit more information to get a better understanding.
Figure out why they thought that.
Right.
Like the people that think that the moon landing is fake, I get that. It seems like something that's astronomical, something that humans could not do. But then if you look into what it would take to do it, to fake a moon landing, it would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
To fake that sort of stuff, it just wouldn't be possible in my book.
Yeah.
But that's also one that doesn't hurt people as much. If you're talking about vaccines, research the way that developed. You can find that. You can find the info on the first vaccine, just like you can find info on the first antibiotic. And you can figure out how it developed. You can figure out all that stuff. Wikipedia is ironically stupidly good because you have so many people researching at one time that keep adding on to it and double checking each other.
Yeah, I go to Wikipedia for quite a bit of stuff. Mostly like when I'm trying to do like my movie research for the other podcasts and stuff. But Wikipedia is a great source. I mean, the internet's a great source for everything as long as, again, you understand. Like, look, you might find one article, but look at another article and another article.
Also, double check their references.
Yeah,
references.
for sure.
If an article referenced something and then you look back and that one references something, then you go, okay, I'm starting to go down a train. If it goes too far from the original source, then you're going to end up going, wait a second, then this is misconstruing all the way. You need to go back to the original source. Right. And then when you read that and you find out, oh, they were saying that, yes, quote unquote, yes, mercury is in the vaccine, but it's in only traceable amounts. Like it's in your tuna fish. Your tuna has more mercury in it than a vaccine. So a vaccine is not going to kill you, just like your tuna can of tuna isn't going to kill you. Unless you are that paranoid about your cans of tuna as well, then, hey, I just gave you a new reason to be paranoid.
Well, they exist, though, those people. So
I'm just saying for the people that are out there.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and wrap up there. Michael, fucking great conversation with you, my friend.
Yep.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you for making time. Normally, this is a point where I ask if you got any shout-outs or mentions that you might want to drop out there before we get out.
So, a shout-out mostly because of the fact that I want Ricky to have a better situation. He started acting in a bunch of B movies. They are low-budget, non-existing films, but he has an IMDb page now. Ricky Bredenbach, you can find him on there. Check out some of his movies. Some of them are hilarious. Some of them are more serious. But they are great B movies. A lot of them are horror. So if you ever want to check them out.
Write out the spelling. I'm going to put it in the show notes.
Not a problem. But I want that. And the other thing is I am single. I am still looking. I am on OkCupid and FetLife. I'm on all these different dating apps. If you want to find out more about me, find me, hit me up. I'll give you more info. And if we click, hey, I'd love to come back to this podcast whenever Dante has me on and tell everyone, by the way, I've developed a relationship from it, and give Dante a shout out for helping me find my new primary. But that's what I got for you guys.
All right, fair enough. And we'll talk about the other podcast too, because like I said, good conversation. You're always been an interesting dude to me, just even when we only talked in a little bit. So thank you for just being a cool dude. Everybody else out there listening, as always, thank you for the support. Thank you for just being cool cats out there listening to the show. If y'all got any questions, concerns, criticisms, always feel free to reach out to me. You can find me at bjj.wiki on Instagram or Off the Mats Podcast on Instagram. There's also So You Like Horror, Colompton Beer Club. I'm all over the internet, y'all. Want to give a big shout out to my friends over there at Nerd Rage Radio. Bobby, Chris, Joe, Marilyn, Phil, all you fellas. Thanks. Love you guys. You got me starting a podcast, and they gave me a new hobby. So thank you, fellas. Also, big shout out to BJJ Mama Paige. She's got her social media marketing program going right now. So be sure to check it out. I'll put those in the show notes. And that's pretty much it. Oh, go check out my other podcast, So You Like Horror. It's about scary movies. I don't even know what do we talk about? Sharknado. Go check it out. We talk about Sharknado.
Ricky absolutely loves Sharknado. I could not get into it, sad to say.
I've watched it. I watched it straight through, all 6. Guess what? I'm not doing ever again.
I get that.
So go check out So You Like Horror if you want to hear me and Ricky Tiki Timber talk about Sharknado. And just so you all know, and Ricky, if you're listening to this episode too, you're not allowed to choose the movies again. But otherwise, thank you everybody. Love you to death. You guys keep listening, and I'm going to keep making these shows. Check me out later. Bye.
Bye.
Deep with it. Now let me sing a song.